Wow. You are amazing, Veronica, and I really thank you so much for sharing your story. Very, very exciting, impressive. I'm here to talk about a slightly different story, and it's kind of a dark story. 1 in 10 children are sexually abused by the time that they reach their 18th birthday. No matter where you live, no matter who you know, no matter how much money you have in your pocket or the church you belong to, children are being sexually abused in your vicinity. Kids of every gender, every age, race, ethnicity, socioeconomic status, family structure are at risk. We're talking about infants, toddlers, preschoolers, kindergartners, elementary students, middle school students, high school students. No child is immune from child sexual abuse. There's no immunization that you can take to protect a child from being sexually abused. That's really scary. When I first learned of this statistic, I must admit that it did take me some time to fully appreciate its implications. 1 in 10 children. 1 in 10 children means that in an average high school of 1,600 students, 160 teens will be sexually abused before they graduate. 1 in 10 means that in my son's soccer league that consists of 11 teams of 10 children each, there's a very good chance that 11 athletes will be abused during the course of a season. 1 in 10 means that in this very auditorium, there's a good chance that 20 people endured sexual abuse in their childhood. Most people think of adult rape as a crime of significant proportion, and it is. Yet most people are unaware that children have higher rates of sexual assault than adults. Nearly 70% of all reported sexual assaults happen to children under the age of 17. Now, despite the rate at which sexual abuse occurs, most children will never tell a soul. And when they do tell, they frequently tell their closest friend, another child, not an adult or an authority. Now, why is that? What keeps child victims so quiet? Is it that they don't know the people who are abusing them? Or rather, that they do? 90% of children who are sexually abused know the abuser. 90%. 60% of the time, it is somebody that the family knows and trusts. 30% of the time, it's the parent themselves. Only 10% of the time are children abused by strangers. Perpetrators aren't random criminal monsters. They're people who we know by name and who are often trusted caregivers. Children may like or love, admire, and confide in their abusers as much as they despise being molested by them. Now, it's our human nature to think that someone who is friendly, who's considerate, who's well-educated, well-respected in the community, is incapable of abusing children. Ironically, it is this very mindset that enables victimizers to continue victimizing our children. So we must wake up about the truth of sexual abuse. Sadly, there are no free passes when it comes to child sexual abuse. It is a crime that doesn't occur out there, somewhere else, in someone else's community, but rather it is a crime that occurs in here, in our inner circle. And so we must be brave. We must be brave enough to examine our most intimate relationships, our best friends, our siblings, our parents, even our spouse or partner. If we want our children to break the silence of sexual abuse and talk to us when it is happening, then we must be willing to talk about sexual abuse first. Talking about sexual abuse, however, is not very easy. It's not even easy for me, and I'm the executive director of the Traverse Bay Children's Advocacy Center. Children come to our center specifically to share their stories about abuse. I talk about sexual abuse every day. And yet, for a long time, when I would be out at a dinner party or a social function and someone would come up to me and ask, what do you do for a living? I would kind of cringe inside. I'd be like, oh no, I don't want to talk about sexual abuse. Trust me, it never makes you the life of the party. You know, it's a real downer. And then I thought about this. The uneasiness that I feel as an adult cannot possibly compare to the fear, to the shame, to the confusion that a child victim feels. If I can't talk about the reality of child sexual abuse, then how can I expect a child to? When a child is sexually abused, their world turns upside down because the people who are supposed to love them and care for them are hurting them. And so they start to ask questions about love itself. Is love for real? Is love a lie? I don't want to live in a world where children are wondering if love is a lie. So here's my change question. How can we create communities within which sexual abuse doesn't happen? What conditions need to exist for us to eradicate sexual abuse from our humanity? I know it sounds like a big task, and it is, because sexual abuse is a complex social issue. But we can begin by developing the skills to talk the talk about child sexual abuse. We can begin by developing our tolerance as adults for early conversations with children about their body and their body parts. We can begin by teaching children how to use the words penis, vagina, vulva, breast, butt. Can you believe I even said those things up here on stage? Because we know that when children can use those words, they're less vulnerable to abuse. But more importantly, we need to build our tolerance as a community for hearing those words and for supporting our children in saying those words. Otherwise, they're falling on deaf ears, and they won't have any impact. What we need is a community response. We need shared agreements that sexual abuse needs to be taken seriously, and we're going to create the conditions within which it won't exist. We need a team. To be effective, we need a movement. And so the Traverse Bay Children's Advocacy Center, along with its partners, the Grand Traverse Regional Community Foundation and Zero Tolerance of Traverse City, have started a movement, a regional movement in Grand Traverse, to teach adults about how to protect their children. We use an evidence-based curriculum. It's entitled Stewards of Children. It was created by a nonprofit agency in Charleston, South Carolina, called Darkness to Light. And our movement is just beginning, but to date, we've trained 1,200 individuals from all walks of life in this curriculum. In September, 700 employees of the Traverse City Area Public Schools will be trained in Darkness to Light over the period of 3 days. 700 people in 3 days. So our movement is gaining momentum. And guess what? We want you to be a part of it. You have an amazing opportunity today to take the Darkness to the Light training this afternoon with Dr. Amelia Siders. What better time than now to learn the skills to keep our children safe? But if not today, how about tomorrow? I urge you to visit our website, traversebaycac.org, to learn more. Because statistically, you know someone who's been affected by child sexual abuse. It is estimated that there are 60 million survivors of child sexual abuse in the United States alone. Somewhere in your family, somewhere in your community life, somewhere in your friendships, somewhere even in this room, there is someone who's experienced sexual abuse and needs to talk about it. They are relying on you to be the light in their darkness. By cultivating our awareness, as well as our courage to take action, All of us can light up the world. I hope that you choose to let your light shine. Thank you.